Welcome back to Hacker Hangouts on a Saturday morning on the eve of Defcon 30, and we have been planning nonstop. My life is in chaos, and Gator has all of his junk together, fully packed, ready to go. Am I right, Gator?
Oh, sure. That's why we're shooting this part of the studio, not the rest of the studio, because everything's packed. This is fine.
If you look around my office...
Gator actually brings that entire wall of badges behind him to DEF CON every year, so you can tell how close he is to being done packing by how many badges are left in the background of the stream. I don't know, for our listeners, he's got about 100 hanging up.
I'm sitting here and so me and Gowrie met yesterday because what's better than one goon this year, by the way, as a little announcement, what's better than one goon? Two goons. It's going both me and Gowrie gooning this year, doing video. Nice. So we spent all yesterday and other days prior to that just planning out all the content that we want to shoot. And as we've been going through it, two things have been very apparent to me. One, I am bringing so much crap. Just my office is right now littered. And this is why the video is only waist up, because it's tripods and multiple sets of headsets, because now not only am I planning video, but we're planning on doing live streams there, which brings with it things like an audio mixer and a stream deck. So everything's there. But the other thing I've been noticing as we've been going through villages and contests in the map and Caesar's Forum, DEF CON is huge. And I say this, being a veteran on DEF CON and whatnot, but we went to the crypto and privacy village and we looked, there's talks going the entire con. You could sit in the privacy and crypto village and do nothing but that. So this issued the topic for the stream today, which is, how do you plan for your DEF CON? Whether you're a noob or an advanced person, or I guess that's probably a weird way of saying that. Whether you're first year or 10th year, how do you plan to hit things? And that's what I think would be the topic today.
As Silk said, his plan is he's got littered equipment everywhere and he's getting ready for the stream. And juxtaposed against that, I am bringing clothing. And nothing else.
Wait, as much as or as little as you did last year is the real question, Gowrie, because I remember seeing some pictures.
Oh, I knew I was forgetting something.
Hey,
clothing.
Some things are supposed to say in Vegas. It's in Vegas.
It's online, man.
That's for the people who show up only. Okay.
Okay. All right. Good point.
No, but the point being that it's funny every year. Folks like Gulo and Gator and Silk, they bring mounds and mounds and mounds of equipment, and I basically bring maybe a laptop. I might have a laptop because the things I do are generally not super, hardware heavy, and this kind of gives you the spectrum of how people prepare for DEF CON. Some people show up with an oscilloscope, and some people don't bring anything at all. And everyone has a way of interacting with a conference that is very different.
Yeah. I mean, that is a very good point, because I'm thinking, but then again, I feel like I've shifted back and forth. In my early days of going to the conference, my first year, I didn't bring a computer or anything like that. And then I started bringing a computer, and you almost do have to plan a little bit of what you're going there for. And I would say if you don't have a plan, then you probably leave a computer at home. There's more than enough to do without a computer. But if you have I want to compete in a contest, you're going to be bringing a computer. I want to do hardware hacking. You don't need to bring soldering irons or things like that, but you might go, okay, I want to bring a multimeter and those type of things. So there is a little bit of planning, but I would say if you're just showing up first, second year, there's not a lot you really need to bring.
I'm gonna pull that back a little bit, because you said you don't need to bring a soldering iron. That's not, and that has not traditionally been true in prior years. Now at the con there is the soldering skills village, and that used to be part of the hardware hacking village. They expanded it significantly, brought way more soldering irons and soldering stations in general. However, in years past, those have been consistently full and hard to get one. So quite a few people do bring soldering irons. with them to do like badge kits in their room after hours or even on the floor.
I would say actually the one funny part about this is there is hotel restricted items, and I wonder if soldering iron is one of those. I mean, obviously, no one at Defcon has ever soldered inside their room or boiled water for coffee, because those are both on the restricted list. So we neither endorse or
ran chemical experiments with urinal pucks to determine the best way to make a badge forgery, and ended up gassing their own room and having to sleep in it. Definitely hasn't happened.
Oh goodness. So I think there is this idea of like what do you bring to con? I guess in kind of hurting the conversation a little bit. Let's talk like pre-con. Let's then talk like registration, like Wednesday, Thursday when you arrive, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday taking off. Let's kind of go in chronological order, which is like pre-con packing. There's always a few items that I always forget to pack. I actually am so passionate about these items. I'm recording a video right now for them, but things like, again, for those listening, simple, stupid things that are easily forgotten, and they're not like advanced hacker gear. It's like chapstick. Like such an easy one to forget, but you're not drinking that much water there, even if you want to drink a lot of water, and your lips get chapped. And if you go to the casino to buy it, it's like $8 for half a stick. Things like aspirin, same thing, or Tylenol or ibuprofen. It's like $15 in the hotel yet. So it's like I'm starting to make a list of like things we forget every year, which might be helpful for some people. But do you have any of those items that you forget or like slip through the cracks outside the obvious?
Baby powder, because you're gonna get chapped, son, because you're not gonna be used to the humidity and the heat. Baby powder for the win, for sure. But I also would go with Tylenol or Advil, and then the one thing additional is cough drops. Obviously, before the age of COVID, when you are talking to so many people back to back to back to back, you might become a little horse or a little pony. So it's good to have a throat lozenge to be able to help just smooth that out a little bit.
Yeah, that's on the list. Is cough drops is a big one. The other one is like blister packs, those things for your feet where it's like if you don't have broken in shoes, but it's like one of those things is you're walking, everything's farther than it seems. Like this is one of the things I know we're going to talk about with the forum. Everything's way farther than it seems. So like you might get a blister the first day, which you normally don't, and all of a sudden you're screwed the rest of the time. So those little blister packs. Hex 7, or actually, Braden says earplugs. Yeah, that was on my list as well. So you're pulling good ones for me. But the earplugs, I'm trying to think of other ones on my list which were on there. Let me see.
Remember to bring your tuxedo thong.
That is a good one. I mean, there's obvious one. There's a couple other funny ones, like a sweatshirt. And while a sweatshirt feels weird, you're going in the middle of the desert. Why would you want to do that? It's the hotels just blast AC. Caesar's Forum might have 30,000 people in it, but somewhere around 4 or 5 o'clock, people are leaving the forum, and now all of a sudden the AC is still pumping. And it's freezing cold in there. So sometimes like that stuff is nice. Let's see.
Ooh.
That was a big one.
Duct tape is a good suggestion and a multi-tool. So any type of tape. I usually bring like electrical tape or duct tape for that purpose, because inevitably you're going to need something, and trying to find that is very hard to do in the casino. And now that Fry's is no longer around for your other electronics, that usually would be, we'll just do a quick stop. We'll grab a bunch of things that people forgot and then come back with it, like extra micro SD cards or extra batteries. You got to make sure to be planning that ahead of time, because some of those specialty electronic items are no longer going to be available unless they're like commonly available at like Best Buy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I forgot the Fry's closed down. I was just thinking about that the other day. I was like, if we need to go buy a load of jumper cables for the badges, we can just run to Fry's. No, we can't. That's not a thing anymore. Nope. Like that hasn't been a thing for a few years now.
The kicker there though is there's always a few people who bring everything you need. Like they bring all the stuff they need, but I always laugh if a Gator, I need like some random adapter. Like I need USB-C to like micro USB or something. In Gator's like 1 second, do you need a charger? Yeah, let me pull that up. He is showing his entire adapter kit on screen right now. And it
Yeah,
was like
just-
Gator just like, oh, I got a battery pack for that and cables for that. And I'm like, you are my favorite person right now. So like things like there are other ones like power strips where you just become everyone's friend, and there's nice travel ones for that.
Which this is exactly why I don't pack anything and I pack clothing, because why do I need to bring anything when I have a Gator and a Gulo?
So to that point, I had been going to Defcon for so many years before starting to help with Defcon or with Darknet that I saw presenters like, hey, I've got a MacBook or I've got this XYZ laptop and I don't have an adapter. AV guys, anybody? And we're all sitting there waiting for like 5 minutes for a cable to be run. And I'm like, no, if I just have that in my bag, walk up, plop it down on there. Okay, let's see your talk now type of a deal. And just make sure you've got the adapters that you need and a couple extra, because you never know if you're going to be in that situation.
So the takeaway here though is that, like, and I don't want to belabor this too much. Yeah, you can bring any amount of equipment to DEF CON and you're going to find that there will be situations where it pops up, and there are situations where you're like, why did I haul this entire extra backpack I never even opened to the con? And what you're hearing here between the three of us who have help run a contest for going on, I don't know, 5-7 years now. I don't remember. I think this is the 10th year,
11th, isn't it, Gator?
11th. That's right. Last year was 10th
11th year, man.
Right. So what you're hearing here is that, like, we've been doing this so steadily that we know that, like, I don't have to bring it because Gator's gonna have the all seeing eye supply of everything. Or if I go to the darknet table, I know I'm gonna be able to find a thing. So why do I need to pile on more? That is our, like, innate plan, right? Like, so we have had this plan for a few years now. It's hard to develop that innate plan of how to go and do DEF CON if you haven't done it a few times and you haven't found, quote unquote, your people yet, if you will. Because you don't necessarily know what you're going to do. Now, if you have an inkling of what it is you're going to spend most of your time doing, like you're going to do the badge quest, like the main DEF CON badge quest, you get an idea of, oh, I should probably bring a bunch of headers. I should probably bring, my JTagulator. I should probably bring the things that are going to help me do that specific thing. And you can start packing for that. But if you're, approaching DEF CON for the first time, plan to go to a couple of talks, plan to try and engage in like the tinfoil hat contest, plan to try and engage with a little bit of DEF CON Darknet for the things that you can do. And you'll learn very rapidly what you're missing. But don't feel like you're missing the con because you're missing gear, right? That's just more incentive to come next year.
That I like that as a point. Yeah, and that's the thing. So let's get to registration, get to the Caesars Forum, because as you said, there's always more you can do. In the maps, if we pull up the map, and I think they're public on DEF CON's site. I'll try and grab a picture while someone else is talking, as people are calling me, and put it up on the screen. But like Caesars Forum, like I don't think so. Gowrie did a virtual walkthrough of it online, and I don't think the images do it any justice for how massive this is. And I use the example, enormous. If you compare the vendor area, if we, like anyone who's been to DEF CON, think about the vendor area and how big it is. The contest area now this year is almost 2 to 3 times bigger than that. And that's only represented like maybe 15%, 10% of the image. Like it's absolutely crazy. Oh yeah, here we go. I'll try and get this up. But Gowrie, you shoot while I'm pulling this up.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, not only so our plan for DEF CON this year, right? We were going through it. It's split across a few different locations, primarily the Caesars Forum, and then 2 different floors at Flamingo, which we're going to pull up here in a second. But when we were walking through, and then a little bit at the link, there is some. What is it? A few villages. Oh gosh, we didn't even get to the village. The Sky Talks are at the link. So when we were just like our plan Friday, right? Friday morning, our plan is to do a walk through the Flamingo and hit all of the villages that are there. And we counted it up. There's 12 villages there on one floor and 3 more villages on another floor. And we were sitting there. I was going like, well, if we spend 20 minutes getting footage at each village, oh my gosh, that's already 6 hours. Like, And then we went into, and we were like, well, what are we going to cover at the crypto and privacy village? And I was like, I don't know, let's go to their village website. And then that was the point we realized that there's talks every half hour throughout the entire con at just the crypto village. And we're kind of like, hold on, what do we cover? Like, what's our plan here? And then it dawned on us, just walking from one end of the third floor to the other end of the third floor, of Flamingo is going to take us like 10 minutes. And let's look at the Caesars Forum here for a sec, because you just pulled it up. Registration is in the top left corner, right? So I'm calling this Forum West. It's in the Forum Northwest is track 1. That's
Right
where
next to track 1.
Linecon's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah, right next to track 1. And then there's that little yellow square, and that's registration. Just like keep this in mind. There's going to be hundreds of people at Linecon. So track 1 is going to hold hundreds of people. So whatever hundreds of people looks like, that's how big just track 1 is, right? And if you look right next to it, the same size space, and in all likelihood, they may break off into track 2 as well, because usually these are false walls that they split up. So there's a very good possibility that like all of track 2 will also be filled with people, depending on how big the conference is. If the conference is a little smaller than prior years, then who knows? But like we have seen in the past at various various other locations, we've seen lines go throughout the entire casino, right? Just and you keep walking and you keep walking and you keep walking and you keep walking, and that's why they went to this type of configuration of just like, let's take one of the tracks and put the registration right next to the track and then put the line there. Right. So we were talking about how are we going to do the walkthrough of the forum, and I went and I walked through the 3D map. Can you put the map back up real quick?
Yep, here it is.
And I did the 3D walkthrough on the forum. If you go to the Caesars Forum website, you can actually walk throughout the entire forum in 3D. I don't know if you can go into the actual spaces or not, but you can at least do the hallway. On this map, this looks like, maybe this is about the size of a small elementary school. And so you get a feeling just looking at this, like, okay, I get a feeling of it. No, this place is huge. It is going to take you, multiple minutes to walk from one end of this place to the other end. So if you're planning on doing something at track 4 or like the voting machine village, and then you're planning on going to the aerospace village, you should definitely be planning like 5+ minutes to get there, because previously this stuff was, you can bring it to, so that's in Forum Northeast and then going all the way to Forum Southwest, right?
Now that's without other people too.
Go ahead.
You're going to have to be able to also figure out, because there's going to be so many other people moving as well. You're going to need to make sure. I would actually suggest, if you're getting there early, like Thursday, before things are open to everybody, certain amounts of it are going to be available for you to walk. Find out how much it takes you now before the crowds happen, and then double it because of the crowds. So then if you want to make that talk, how much time you need to take off beforehand to get in.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk about timing of this, because again, we're 20 minutes in and I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface of like everything. So let's talk. Linecon starts maybe Wednesday night. Again, the crazy people who show up like Wednesday night and will stand in Linecon. I've weirdly never experienced Linecon, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. So Gator, it's part of your actual time. Like, it's
absolutely.
What is Linecon?
So Linecon is when you get in line to be able to purchase your badge for Defcon. In years past, I've done this with my hackerspace because we wanted to make sure we got the actual physical badges, because in the past, while you can get the badges, it was depending on what day and what time you got there. So like if you wait till day 2 or day 3, in the past, they have run out of the physical badges, and then you've got a paper badge. For me, I was spending my hard-earned cash. I was not making much money at the time, so I absolutely wanted to make sure I got something to bring home. So
hold on.
I started.
Because I want to cut you off. I want to get right to it, which is like Linecon. You're like, oh, it's really exciting. You stand in the line waiting for your badge. That doesn't sound exciting to me. What am I missing?
I'm getting to you.
Okay.
What you're missing is that all the people that you get to meet who are also doing the same thing, and you've got a major amount of hours to work together or visit with each other and make new friends, to where you have no idea who these people are. You guys most likely are taking on your handle to where you could be saying something that's actually connected to yourself, or you could be going through and saying, hey, I am just this random dude who is not in the industry but want to actually start, or I'm bringing my laptop for the first time, can you help me install Kali, or whatever. To where we've had people go through, we've got pizzas and had them together, we've played multiple games like escape room games in line. You've got the beach ball that's constantly being passed around because you've got this gigantic line of people. Some folks are playing music. It is literally a meet and greet for a bunch of other geeks, nerds, and hackers who are there and passionate about the environment that we're literally creating, which is Defcon. It's just literally getting in line for it just to kick it off.
And when does it start? From how you've seen it.
So typically when we've gone, we're there at least at midnight on Thursday morning. We have gone in earlier as well on like Wednesday, depending on if you're coming from other conferences as well. My one brother, I think, is one of the longest ones. I think he sat down on Tuesday and then started playing his video game console. I think it was PS3 at the time on a monitor, and sat there, played in the hall, starting the line 2 days ahead of everybody else because everybody else was at other conferences.
So when does registration actually open on Thursday? Do you have that mapped out?
So that has changed a couple different times over the years, but last time I was going through and doing Linecon, it started at 7 a.m. They have moved it up in the most recent years to where it's earlier instead of it being like at 8 or 9 o'clock. So I believe in the past it's now been 7 for the last couple of years. I don't know how that's going to be since we're just coming back from COVID, or how that's going to work because this is only the second conference that we've had since COVID has happened.
The other thing is, it's at Caesars Forum, which we haven't really witnessed yet. So how many registration booths? Because I know Linecon has become less and less of a, we'll say, as long of a con, because as long as an activity, because they get so efficient. I remember it was like 2 years ago, it was like only 15-minute wait in line. Like, which is baffling when you think about 30,000 people showing up to a conference. All right, you got registration. Yeah, nothing really happens when conferences isn't even open Wednesday. Thursday, it's just like the 101 talks. If you've never been to DEF CON before, the 101 talk is a great one. They just kind of say where things are, where things are at. The other thing is almost everything is between Caesars Forum and the Flamingo. Flamingo is like a 25 minute walk, so it's something to be aware of. But we now got a ticket. Thursdays, some parties happen. Usually unofficial parties happen. Like often at other hotels, there's nothing official happening. Thursday.
Yes, but go check out the DEF CON party on Twitter, because they've got every single party on lockdown and available on the calendar. So if there's a party, they're going to know about it, and they're sharing that calendar with everybody who follows them. So just go check out their site or follow them on Twitter.
And the other exception I was going to mention is there's also a couple things at the link. So everything is at Caesars Forum, Flamingo, and a few things at the link. Gowrie?
True.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up one last thing with regards to size and thinking about the logistics of moving from one space to the other. Can you pull up the map one more time at Caesars Forum? Because I want to hammer this home. There's those two major divisions. There's the Forum Ballroom on the left and the Summit Ballroom on the right. And the numbers that are like in here, if I were to zoom in, are totally wrong, right? So this says 10,000 square feet. Actually, there's a hidden 1 there, right? You can't see it. It's 110,000 square feet for each of these squares, right? I want to put this into perspective for you. A football field, and I just Googled this, square feet in a football field is 57,000 square feet. Each of those squares is 2 football fields. So
hold on. Yes. I think that's the whole square, not one of those individual squares.
Look, this one square over here is 110,000 feet. Because I pulled up, I thought so too. I pulled up the CaesarsForum.com and I looked through it. That's 10,000 square feet. That's 10,000 square feet, which means that in addition, everything on the east side collectively is probably another 110,000 square feet. And because I'm looking at the
That
Caesars
is-
Forum website and they break it down. So you have like 6 football fields worth of space here, right? Now, take into consideration going around a track, around a football field is about a quarter mile. So just walking from one end of this to the other is a quarter mile. And then walking from the south east to northeast is probably close to another quarter mile, right? So if you're walking from one corner to the other corner, this is a half-mile walk.
Yeah.
It is
and
it is a huge space. It is hard to describe it without actually being there.
In chat, got a good question, which was from Cameron. What at a minimum do you need to bring to participate in Defcon? Yourself. That's it. Nothing else. And optionally, more than one set of pants. That's about it. Like
Your
even
curiosity.
T-shirts you can buy, like legitimately.
Yes.
T-shirts you can buy there. One pair of pants. That's about the minimum you need in yourself. Everything else you can figure out there. You don't need to bring a laptop. Even if you came up with nothing, like legitimately, you could grab your badge. You could head on over and you just have a little bit of cash on you. You can go to the vendor area. You can pick up a circuit board. You can go to Soldering Skills Village. You can check out there. You can solder that. You can attach it to your badge, which is going to have an SAO port or a simple add-on. There we go. Simple add-on, which you can plug on in. You can take that, go over to the Hardware Hacking Village, hook it up to an oscilloscope, start reverse engineering that. You can head on over to the contest area, which, oh my goodness, we're a half an hour in and we haven't even hit any of this. We haven't even hit the content yet, so we're going to jump into that now. But you head on over to the contest area, you sit down at Hack Fortress, you do I don't know if Dungeons and Dragons at Con is a thing this year, but there's so many contests you can walk up to.
Oh, yeah.
And forgetting any of that, even if you don't even have any, like you just want to goof around and have fun and meet people, scav hunt. Pick up a scav hunt list and start going around scav hunt. And those are some of like the best people you will ever meet at conference because they're just like so much energy. So nothing. The answer is a pair of pants.
And your curiosity. Is that what I would add? As long as if you're curious, you can go to any place and you're going to learn something new. And because the villages and the contest areas are set up to help support you and be able to introduce you to these different things, even like the lockpicking village, it's a great gateway to get into the rest of the conference as well. They've got pairs of not only things for you to be able to pop open with different levels of locks, but they've also got the lockpicking gear.
All right, hold on. I'm pulling us back. We're half an hour in, and oh my gosh, we've covered a pair of pants and curiosity and how big the place is. Let's go in. Like, what do you actually do at the conference? We talked about planning for the conference, which is great, but there is the talks. I would say the first thing you do. Now, most of the talks are recorded, but when you register, you're going to get a packet. It's going to have your badge in it. It's going to have, I don't know, some other junk in it, and it's going to have a book. That's the big one. It has the book, which has the list of every conference, every talk at every given time. So you'll be able to flip through it. And the first thing I would recommend is flip through that, start highlighting the ones that you want to go see.
Yes.
That would be a big one.
Yes. So along with that, you have the physical booklet. You can also go through and install the Hacker Tracker app on your phone, whether you're Android or iOS. And you can also build the virtual talks that you want to go through and see it to where it's on your phone versus just on the paperback. If you're too paranoid to bring a phone, okay, you've got that paper that you can go through and use the pen to highlight what you want to go through and do as well. So I absolutely agree with you. Pick a couple talks that you want to go to. For me, I usually pick the ones that I could literally use the information for my job next week. Otherwise, they will be online later on.
Awesome. Gary is the step away, but I think we're going to just keep going. I can flip him on over and we'll see if he comes back.
Sweet.
With this, though, let me flick us on over. So it's just the two of us now. Oh, that's definitely not the two of us. Hold on.
Holding. So
there we go.
Okay. Fantastic.
So
go for it.
Oh, no, I was going to say is one comment in the coffee. Good morning, everyone who's coming in the stream. But yes, I am looking forward to that Costa Rican coffee. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Me and you can share a cup together, which I'm thrilled about. So jumping in, we have villages, we have contests. So there is Sky Talks, and I would say the first thing you do right when you get registration, start highlighting those things. And then the next thing is figure out you're going to check into your hotel room. Here's the thing I screw up every single year. When we were at Paris Bally's, I stayed at the Paris and it was fantastic. And then what I ended up forgetting was to look at a map to see how to get to the conference. And you would go down from the hotel room and it was like a 25-minute walk. I couldn't figure out how people were getting there so fast. Then it was Saturday evening. By the time I realized you could shortcut through the pool and cut off legitimately 20 minutes off your walk. So one of the biggest things when you're going from your hotel to the conference, find out like what the direct route is and don't just assume following the signs is the best way to do it.
Completely concur. Because there's going to be a mass of people. It's easy to go with the flow. But if you want to save time or you want to make sure that you're getting to the end location quicker, do take a look at the map.
Mm. All right. So go on.
So we just had talks, right? There's other things going on at Defcon as well. Do we want to talk about those?
Absolutely.
And how to plan those? So I would say the next thing is look at the villages, right? I would suggest that you look at every single village that's there, because if something catches your eye, you want to deep dive and get into that ASAP. And there are different hours that each one of these are open, right? So not everything is open at all hours. There are certain opening times, which usually everything opens about 10 o'clock. For closing times, though, that's going to depend on if it's a village, if it's a contest, or if it's in another area. So make sure that you're paying attention if you want to participate in something, that you're there during the opening hours. Typically from like 10 to 4 is pretty safe. In some other areas, it's going to be like 10 to 8 o'clock in the night. So make sure that you're doing that. Go check out all the villages, because there is always not only amazing people, there are amazing talks going on. There are other contests that are going on inside of each one of them. And each one of these areas are highly specialized people, whether they're the professionals of doing this themselves for their job, whether they're passionate about it and they're there to teach other people, or you've got absolute noobs that are there that want to just learn. It is an amazing energy that you'll feel. So is there a specific village that you want to call out or that you like to visit every single time?
So jumping in, my gosh, there's so many villages. There are so many villages. And just even naming like adversary, aerospace, AI. I tried to like map some of these out. AppSec, biohacking, blacks and cyber, blue team, car hacking, like crypto and privacy, data duplication, girls hack, ham radio, hardware hacking village, soldering skills village, industrial control systems, IoT, lockpicking, misinformation, like physical security, lockpicking. Like we haven't even hit. This isn't even halfway through the list. Someone asked, QWERTY asked in there, can you please talk about the workshops and CTFs? Is it realistic to be able to attend them? I have heard it's overcrowded and hard to get in. No one has any idea. First, no one has any idea, including Defcon, and this isn't like a goon secret thing, how many people are going to be at Defcon this year. Like just legitimately, it's an anniversary. So Defcon, I think Defcon 20 brought like 36,000 people. Defcon 28, which was the 29, first one coming out of hybrid mode, was only like 7,000 people. So, and then obviously Defcon, or that was Defcon 29, Defcon 28, there was no one because Defcon was canceled, actually, just online. So this year, how do we estimate it? So I'm guessing there's probably, and this is a huge range, somewhere between 22 and 38. As far as like, I mean, that's a crazy number. We're talking about like 50% in a flux. So to answer your question, like, is it going to be overcrowded? I don't know what anyone's predicting. The thing I will say is there are so many CTFs. Every single village has a CTF. So when me and Gowrie were planning out what videos to do this year, we were going around like what's going on in each village. And this is when, like, even as a veteran of Defcon, I realize how big Defcon is. Not even physically, but there is no, we've said this, there's no way to see anything. There is legitimately zero way to see everything at Defcon. Because let's take the crypto and privacy village, because that was the one we got stuck on. We started going through and they were the ones who had everything documented. There is talks from the moment they open to the moment they close. And every one of the talks sounds freaking interesting. Like, and it's not like it's, a breakdown of RSA. And they cover encryption with IoT, and there's a whole IoT village. So
Mm-hmm.
As far as CTFs, I would say the biggest advice I give anyone who's going to Defcon is be incredibly selfish with your time. Like incredibly selfish with your time. If you find yourself doing something or a CTF and you're like, this is too advanced, I'm not having fun. Now, sometimes you hit that advanced thing and you're like, no, I'm going to push myself a little harder. I can learn something. But if you are not having fun, piss off from whatever you're doing and go find something more fun, because there is definitely something more fun. You can definitely get in your head and you're like, okay, the grass is always greener, and you're going to go off and just find yourself walking the whole time. But it will be too crowded. If it's too crowded, go find something else. Go find another CTF, because there's so many of them.
There are so many going on all the time. It's ridiculous. I can say some of the favorite ones to be able to go check out are like the Packet Hacking Village, and they have constant CTFs going on all the time. Some of them are scheduled to be at a certain time, and other ones are open to anyone. If you're more into the radio frequency side of the house, like Wi-Fi hacking, SDRs and such, go to the Radio Frequency Village, and they've got contests that are also some that are timed in a certain area, and then some that are open all the time that are running the entire conference. So if you, depending on the CTF that you want to participate in, absolutely, there's absolutely more than one going on. The likelihood of you getting into one of them is very high. If it's a very niche one, like the Defcon CTF that's going on, those had pre-qualifications a year ago that they had to go through 3 or 4 different sections to make sure that their team went to the next area. That's the only one CTF that I know that you won't be able to get in, because those were pre-qualified way ahead of time.
But I'd even throw it out this way too. It's like, I think about like one of my favorite, let's call it CTF. Like most of them, like some it all comes down to like the attack, defend, or Jeopardy style. But some just like general contests. I guess they're not CTF, but like there's tons of contests that just pop up. And I use the example of like in the Lockpicking Village, one of my favorite contests that just like happened was 2 people grabbed one of the standing tables. Anyone who wanted to compete blindfolded themselves, and then there was locks and just a big semblance of locks and big semblance of just a assortment of lock picks. And they say go, and anyone who's not blindfolded can move stuff around and grab stuff. There was some like semblance of rules, but then you would lockpick, and every time you opened a lock, you'd set it down, pick up another one. Whoever got the most won, and they won like a $300 gift card to Tool. Another one, which I just stumbled across, was the XOR, X and OR, that group. They did pick and place. And this was just out on a table in the chill out lounge. And I see a bunch of people gathered around, and they had their badge with all the surface mount stuff. And then it was a pair of chopsticks. And every round, whoever won the round added a new rule to the board. So the first one was like, it moved from, this isn't that hard. Someone won. They're like, you have to use your non-dominant hand. So I'm now doing like left hand. My hands are just shaking thinking about like how nervous I was doing that one. And then it was like every single time you ask a question or ask, like someone else had to hold your pieces, and you'd be like, thank you, sir. May I have another? Every single time you got a piece. And if you screwed up, then you had to start over. So it's just like, there's all these ones that pop up, which are some of the funnest. Let's talk about villages. My favorite villages, the lock sport ones, to be honest, they're fun, but I've seen it before. I've done lock sport. Like I'll walk through it. Social engineering, like I think that one is like a community gathering now. Like, it's fun and it's fun to watch, and the content, it's the tamper evident one, which is fascinating to me.
Oh yeah,
because that one, I think they'll probably have it this year, is the box you rip down. So there's like a big box, which there's boxes within boxes within boxes, and you like crack it open, and then it will beep if you open it too high. So there's like a team of like 6 people. I'm all over the place. I'm obviously very excited about Defcon. You asked, how do you get involved with some of these pre-registrations? Some of them walk up to the team and offer to help them, like tell them, like, that most teams will all automatically assume you're social engineering them, but like, don't be a dick with it and talk to them and say, hey, can I help you just for a little bit? And maybe you get a flag with them. Some of the CTFs are a little bit more open, where you can just like drop down and learn from the team. They're going to be distracted, so you want to offer some value to them. I don't bring them a water or something like that, which is closed because it's awkward to bring open cups to people at DEF CON. But
that is a very good point. Absolutely. Bring it. If you're going to bring somebody something to drink like that, make sure it's closed, because we're also a paranoid type, and bringing an open bottle to somebody is going to be interesting. So like,
The
if you're
kicker
gonna
with
do
that
it, yeah.
is oftentimes when you buy beers there, when I've like when someone's given them, they unpop them for you. So like goes back to like 101, like choose who to trust. All right. We've talked a little bit about the villages. Those are some of my favorite, but the truth is there's a giant list of villages. There's way too much.
Yes.
Something near and dear to my heart though is contests. How would you, Gator, what contests are some of your favorites, and what ones would you like recommend people get involved in, or at least check out and just watch?
So just like going through every one of the villages, if this is your first Defcon ever, go walk through the entire contest area. Something is going to catch your eye. There are anything from like the tinfoil hat folks. When it comes to coin droids, have been there in the past as well. There's something for everyone, and at every stage of their experience in life. So just go check it out. I'm obviously a little bit biased. I love working with the Darknet folks, so that's a lot of fun. When it comes to, like you said, with Crux and the other folks over there running the Tinfoil Hat Village, we've got, for the other contests, there are a literal crap ton. You've got one. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, let's toss them into two categories, because I think there's actually maybe even three categories. There's event ones, which you really have to prep beforehand. I use like the beverage cooling contraption, where they give you like a warm beer and then you need to make it cold the quickest. So everyone has type of contraptions. Like people use like liquid nitrogen and all of this. Like that stuff you have to plan for. But there are events that are like fun to go and watch. Those happen at specific times at specific places. Those, unfortunately, they may or may not be in the brochure you get, and you have to check the forums. Unfortunately, this requires some research. If we have any of them, I will put them down. But yeah, Gator just put a forum post in chat. Go check out the DEF CON forum. Those are where those things are. Just look through the list and find ones that are interesting. But like the beverage cooling contraption, those are point in time ones. There's other ones, other contests that you can just show up and then compete. The tinfoil hat contest was actually fascinating to me, because I thought it was like, oh yeah, whoever makes the fanciest hat. What I didn't realize with it is Crux actually measures signal interference when you stand between 2 points, which is crazy to me. Like that we have come up with a contest which is measures the efficiency of a tinfoil hat. And you just walk up, you do those ones.
Hack Fortress is another one. I know that you've got experience with that in the past. My brother went through and did that as well. Hack Fortress is where you're playing Team Fortress 2 as just a player, and then you also have the hacking team that are going through and capturing different CTF flags, and then every time that the hacker on your team goes through and scores a point, they get a mod added to their team. So it's either big heads, more deadly guns, or whatever else. That one's a lot of fun to go play with. We've got
that one you need
Defcon Mud.
That one you have to organize a team for. So that's kind of like the events are the point in time ones. You have to be specific time, specific place. Some of them you need to plan for. Like Hacker Jeopardy is another one. It's fun to go watch. I've never competed in it. I have really no plans to compete in it, but mainly because I feel like that one, it was like they ask these obscure references. Either way, great teams for that one. But Hacker Jeopardy, specific time, specific place, specific night. Fun to go watch, but you have to plan for it. And there's other ones like Team Fortress, which you can sign up there. They're open to sign up at the place. You need players, you need hackers, again, some type. Tinfoil Hat, you just show up. And the other piece of this is like scav hunt. So I went ahead a couple contests which you can just show up for, not planning, and jump in and out of. Like open CTF, you go in, you can compete for whenever you want, and then walk away, tinfoil hat, compete. Scav hunt is another one, though. Like, we have to talk scav hunt. Have you ever done any of the things on scav hunt?
So I have got the list every single year, and I usually bring it back and show it off to the hackerspace or folks who are getting ready to go to DEFCON their first year. I have not got to participate. I was going to DEFCON for like 4 years before I started helping participate in Darknet. So that's on my to-do bucket list, and it's always fun. The stories that you come away from that, you can literally just walk in off the street, have your ticket, go walk up and say, this is what I want to do, and it will take your entire conference Or it can, because there's a list of like 30 items that you have to go get, and they are different every single year, and they are obscure. And it is a hoot and a half to be able to
It's not like
follow those
30.
teams.
It's like 60 items. It's grown every
Okay.
year. It's like 90 items. And what's great about it too is it's not just individual items that you need. But it's actually here. I'm going to pause here and I want to talk Scav Hunt. I know Gowry's back. So Gator,
Woo.
what other contests have you done which you absolutely enjoy?
So the Whose Slide Is It Anyway is a fun contest as well, to where you can go sign up, and then you get called on at a certain point in time, and you are given a slide deck that you have never seen before. Your presentation skills are and how much you can bullshit your way through this completely foreign to you slideshow. It's a absolute hoot and a half, because the things that you get from it are amazing.
Awesome.
Because
I
you
cut
get
you
so
off.
many memes.
I cut you off a little bit as I was bringing Gowry back in because I muted you out. So for anyone who heard the blip on the audio, where all three of us are back. Jumping back to, though, Scav Hunt. It's this massive list, and I like it because not only do you get introduced to more people, it has all the elements I love about Defcon. You meet more people, you stretch your creativity skills, but my gosh, does it get you out of your comfort zone in a beautiful way, because you have a team of 10, 15 people, and most of them let you join them because most of them care about winning, but not really or anything like that. But you can join them, and then you have other people you're being silly with. So if you just pick up the list, pull one item and use that as a challenge, that is a great one to jump into.
Hands down.
So
Hands down.
Some of the other contests that are there's Hacker Jeopardy. That's definitely one to check out. There's a couple other funny meetups, because we've talked about contests. Let's go over to some of the events, because it's contests and events. The other events going on, which I am one of them I'm pumped to go to, is the Toxic Barbecue. It's the first time I'm going to be able to do it because it's on site this year. It's right outside the Caesars Forum, so I'm expecting way more people. But come on, we're in. What do hackers like to do? They like to tinker, and what do they like to? A lot of them like to tinker with is food. So I'm really excited. My stomach is rumbling thinking about it, and my mouth all of a sudden just the jowls turned on. So that's definitely one to check out. Have either of you been to the Toxic Barbecue before?
I have not, but I wanted to go.
I saw it. I saw it on the
Gulo
list this year, and I was like, "What the heck is that? And why haven't I known about it?"
Yeah,
absolutely.
Toxic Barbecue was a really good one. The other one was Gator mentioned was Whose Slide Is It Anyway? This one, so many of these when we've been going through the list, I want to make sure that we get some video coverage of this. But Whose Slide Is It Anyway is fascinating to me, because they throw up a PowerPoint presentation that you've never seen before, and you're expected to, on the fly, come up with the presentation. And I'm guessing you use words like synergize and collaborate and blazingly fast technology, blockchain.
Oh, it gets amazing, because there are other people who've also submitted the presentations as well. So it's not just one person making these, it's a whole bunch of folks, and they hit the randomize button. It's quite a bit of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've covered contests, we've covered events. It's now, we'll say, midway through Saturday. What else are we missing? I feel like parties need to be said too.
Yes, Defcon parties is your place to go through and follow, because there are so many different ones from so many different vendors. So these guys popped up a few years ago and just started tracking them all. If you're interested, you may be out of time to be able to pick it up this year, but they also sell shirts. They used to sell a party pack, quote unquote, to where anybody can access the calendar with all the different parties. But you can also go through and get their shirts, get lanyards and other things like that. So it's a good way to be able to meet other people, to where there is a party for everything. Whether that's if you're drinking. Whoop, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I just remembered another massive section we haven't even talked about. The vendor area.
Yeah.
Going through the vendor area, because you have, I cringe a little bit because I think about some of the vendors there don't feel, this is going to sound like the most gatekeeping weird comment. They don't feel they feel like they're taking advantage of Defcon. They're like, here's another set of bump keys. Here's an overpriced of lockpicks. Here's $1 million badge, which I'm just selling not because I care about badge life, but because I want to make money. But then you have other ones who like feel like they truly embrace what it is, and it's like No Starch Press, like is a great one.
Yep.
Hacker Warehouse, the unofficial, not a sponsor of the Hacker Hangouts booth, which I'm just so excited about. He not a sponsor, but he's going to become a sponsor. He just doesn't know it yet. And I may just reach across and grab a t-shirt and start doing random giveaways without his knowledge. And if he's probably not listening to stream, that's coming for you, Garrett. That's all you.
He gave us a booth and to say thank you. Yoink.
Look,
yoink.
Yeah.
So vendor areas, they have different things to where they have coupons as well, to where if you're going to physically do it, if you can get it there at the con, there's usually a slight discount with it. But like No Starch Press is notorious for going through and saying, hey, if you don't want to be able to carry these books back with you, but you still want to buy them, here's a coupon code that you can go through and up to a week afterwards buy the books and get them shipped to your house directly because you can't pack it on the plane. Absolutely gold. Definitely go through and check that out. And then you've got most other folks, also the DJs for some of the different parties that are going on as well, have vendor booths as well, to where if you want to pick up their actual music that they've been creating for years, that's another way to do it.
Yeah, speaking of which, that's the other thing which is super cool. And I didn't even know this about Hacker Warehouse, because as Garrett me and him have become friends and talking to each other, and he gave us the booth, I kind of found out some of the things that he does, which is he'll resell like badge life people's badges, like the Tor badge, for instance. That's not his badge. That's is it C has made that one, and he gave it to, or her, I actually don't know, I just have a handle, or them. They gave it to Hacker Warehouse to sell on their behalf, and he's not making profit on it. Like he's just passing it on through. And then he's also selling like the SAOs and the DC 801. So there's a couple of vendors. That's the one I always tell people to check out. And as I've learned more about him, because he sells all these people's t-shirts and DJ t-shirts and things like that. So like there might be a few vendors where even if the DJ doesn't have their own stuff, might be selling it through that vendor. I know like DJ Jackalope has her own booth too, which I have like some of the stickers and patches for her.
Exactly, right? So you've got folks like the Hacker Warehouse, you've got folks like Hack5. In the past, we've had like the Unix surplus, so the really weird gear that's like secondhand, or the really obscure cables and whatnot have been there in the past. I don't know if they're making it this year. The vendors, usually DEF CON tries to go through and pick the right vendor, so it's not just vendors pushing their wares on you. It has something to do within the realm of DEF CON. So... that has grown and that has shrunk over time. There's at least a couple different lock picking or where you can buy lock picks. I think we've had like the Rogue podcast with like Brian Brushwood or whatnot, who's been there a couple years. So it's a little bit different each year. I know the folks who do the keys as well, the small compact keys so they don't jingle in your pocket, Keyport, have been there for the last couple of years as well.
It's always interesting going through who sells what there, and I feel like you can catch the vibe of a vendor pretty quickly, just based on like, I don't know. I would say that feeling of what they're selling, of whether or not this is something like they're passionate about being there. And I know it's a weird comment, but
I think about 10 years, the year I figured out that like some vendors are there to make a buck and some vendors are there to be part of the con in some way. And I'm not sure who was doing it, but there was a vendor that was selling raw silicon wafers, just circular silicon wafers. And I was like, I think it was like $20. They were, they weren't, I don't think they were etched or anything like that. So it's not like they're raw processors or cores or anything like that. But I remember I was like, you know what, for $20 I'll buy one. And they put it in a, between two pieces of cardboard, and then they handed it to me. And as they handed it to me, it broke, and I was like, and they were like, "Oh, that sucks." I was like, "What do you mean that sucks? Like, that's what happens if you don't treat them gently. You didn't treat it gently. Sorry, man." And they wouldn't give me a refund, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm never, going to this vendor again," because they just basically handed me a thing casually. didn't tell me anything, and the thing they handed to me immediately broke, and I was just like, yeah, I think I'm done buying from vendors, and like just that one vendor. But then folks like Hacker Warehouse, they're awesome. They're there to enrich the conference. They do a lot of things for the con. They make a huge them being there year over year, everyone knows that there's a lot of good swag you can find there. You can find the occasional good deal on few years back badges that are left over, and maybe you missed them and stuff like that. And they do a good job enriching the conference.
Yeah. I was just amazed that he does the pass through thing. Like there's the tour badge, the DC 801 badge, like a lot of the SAOs. Have you, by the way, I know this is like distracting a little bit, but did you see the DC 801 like art badge? Like, I know I did a video of it, but they had like the art on the back end of the badge, which is, I think it's like Vivi is what they call the wizard, but it's like the wizard and then it's full RGB LEDs. Like that one, it's coming after the con, but I was actually weirdly excited about that. And I'm turning into a believer of a little bit of the SAOs, because like you're seeing more and more of these little tiny add-ons, which are actually pretty cool. Like they're no longer like, here's a piece of junk, but they've actually got sprouted legs in the case of Vivi and things like that. But like they're really, really cool. With that,
I wonder.
Go on.
Are we planning to have? I guess Gulo's not here, so we can't ask him. But are we planning to have any of our badges at Hacker Warehouse? I guess we could have some of the kits there to give away.
We'll have to talk with Gulo on that for sure. Since he's the one who may lead on that, we'll talk to him on it.
All right. What else do we have? What else do we have to talk about? We've covered contests, we've covered events, we've covered villages. What about like Sunday? What happens Sunday? The only thing I can think of is closing ceremonies is a big one if you haven't seen it. There's also like things we haven't even covered, like not Hacker TV, Defcon TV that's broadcast in all the hotels. Anyone in chat? Anyone else? Anything we've missed when we've been talking?
So actually, Defcon TV is a good point, and I don't think this is going to be a huge issue this year, just because of the sheer size of the tracks. But in years prior, the tracks were small enough that you couldn't get everyone who wanted to go in. I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. However, it's something to note for watchers that if you just so happen to not be able to make it into one of the tracks, all of the tracks are being broadcast on Defcon TV throughout the various Defcon hotels. I don't know if that's the case for the villages. But this is, if you're making plans for Defcon, and, we talked about how big the forum is and the fact that it's a 25-minute walk to the Flamingo stuff, take note that you could stay in the Flamingo and want to go to a talk in the actual in the forum and not have enough time to make it over there. Do we know if they're broadcasting to Twitch?
I would assume, and I'm making the bold assumption there.
Right. And so it depends on which areas that you're talking about. Like the main talks should be, but the villages have to be completely set up by the conference center. So most of them, that's a huge cost. So most of those are not going to be streamed or recorded. So the village talks you'll want to go in person for, versus the main talks like track 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the ones that would probably be streaming and are also absolutely being recorded.
Right. So my point is, if you plan on spending a ton of your time over in the workshops in the Flamingo, don't feel the need to try to like hoof it back to the forum just to see one track that's in one talk that's in one of the major tracks. Just open up Twitch and hang out over in the workshops, or go to the hangout, the hangout lounge, which means that you should plan to bring a good pair of headphones.
That is true. The other thing is we talked about the hangout lounges. What's cool this year is there's not just one hangout lounge. Like typically there's one. There's like 4. There's like 3 I know of, or at least 2 over at the Flamingo, and one of them's outside. Or I should say it's the balcony one. I'm assuming it's outside, but then casinos do all sorts of crazy things with fans and overheads, and I don't know, they might be air conditioning Arizona, or not, air conditioning Las Vegas for all I know. But there's a lot of different hangout lounges, so that's a really good point. Same thing. There's going to be Wi-Fi throughout. I know DEF CON's already setting up a lot of those Wi-Fi access points all over the place, and they have quick internet. Something to note with Defcon's private one, not their open one, is it's a secure network. Like they have host isolation, things like that. I'd love to hear more about the security because they do a talk every year. And actually a really good one. Good question.
But
We didn't mention. Oh, go on.
to that point, though, make sure if you're going physically to DEF CON, you follow the instructions on how to get on the secure Wi-Fi, because they specifically line it out for each operating system. And every single time one of these talks, at the end, they're like, this many of you didn't read the instructions on how to properly do this. So read the instructions to properly get hooked up and make sure that your stuff is encrypted.
There was mention of the paid workshops and trainings that happen after Sunday. I haven't looked into those, so I'm not able to speak to those, but I know they do have paid trainings on Monday and Tuesday after the conference.
Yes, and some of them were canceled because they were so low of attendance. Other ones, at this point, my understanding is that they are all full. So if you've not already bought your ability to enter one of these workshops, which they are not inexpensive, but compared to other conferences that are going on even just earlier in the week, it's very competitive. So if you're staying over on Monday and Tuesday, you've already pre-bought your workshop. Fantastic. I'm really curious to see how that works out, because this is the first year that DEF CON is doing that. So I have no information other than what's been publicly posted, and I would really like to find out how folks enjoyed those. But there's also a bunch of other unofficial workshops going on the entire conference that are not paid for, that just come as part of being in the conference.
I'll also say, don't start a massive line somewhere that in hopes of getting into one of these workshops, but it's not outside the realm of possibility that you show up at the time it's supposed to start and someone who registered doesn't show up, right? Mm-hmm. And in which case you could ask the organizers whether it would be possible to take that seat and do a hot swap of who's paying what and like a refund back to them. It's possible. I think it all depends on the organizers.
Yeah. Well, with that, we've covered a lot. I know we missed things because the DEF CON is way too big to see everything. As a final question to anyone in chat or watching this video later, we're doing video. Me and Gowrie are going to be running all over the place, doing live streaming, recording videos. If there's something that you're afraid you might miss, put it as a comment down below. We'll be able to take a look at all of these and make sure we get a video, or at least do our best to try and run all over the conference like crazies trying to get it all. With that, though, we covered a lot in an hour. What are some final thoughts coming to you, Gator, first?
So there's more that you can do at DEF CON than you have time for. Make sure that you're reaching out to the community, that you are learning something new, learn something that you can use next week, and make sure to go love your hacker family.
And what is the time? Do you have the final countdown? Do you have that available? You always terrify me. Every year.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the awesome part is that they actually put up a site to take care of this now. So it's not just me that's looking for this information. If you can go to info.defcon.org, and they have this wonderful, wonderful countdown. I'll throw here in chat. The current number is 6 days, 0 hours, 57 minutes, and 2 seconds.
Oh, sheesh. It's going to be here before we realize it. Gowrie, what do you got for us?
Don't feel the need to bring the kitchen sink, really. All you really need to enjoy DEF CON is yourself. Your clothed self inside. Back at the pool, you can leave the clothes, or at least a reasonable amount of clothes, back in your room. But yeah, you don't need everything in the kitchen sink to enjoy DEF CON. Don't worry about missing a piece of gear. It will be here next year. Well, wait.
Yes.
No, next year's DEF CON is canceled.
It is exciting, thrilling, and terrifying trying to get to the point where you're ready for DEF CON. Again, my office is in a massive disaster, but I cannot wait for it. I am pumped to see all of you, to see all your faces. Check out the Hacker Hangout booth, because that's going to be freaking phenomenal. I am looking forward to seeing you all. And as always, hack on.